Anybody who is looking for what can Salesforce do, what are the different domains that it supports and can be used for, and then how do those all work together? This handbook really can help you do that. If you are a non-Salesforce user and you're an architect for AWS or other cloud products and you really want to get a feel for what Salesforce can do and support that, it's a great product for that. If you're somebody who's early in their environment and you're trying to understand more about what is Salesforce and how do I build my career or how can I do things, it's a really good way for you to see what are all the different things that you need to know about in order to be effective architect for an enterprise class implementation.
Welcome, everybody, to Resourceful Vet. I'm your host, Taylor Wilson, and today we have DJ and Andy here to talk to you about the Salesforce Architects Handbook. Without further ado, I'd love to introduce DJ and Andy.
Hey everyone, I'm DJ and I'm one of the authors. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, DJ.
No problem. I'm Jim or Andy Hutcherson. I am also one of the authors, and I'm thrilled to be here. I'm also a Navy vet, so that makes this near and dear to my heart. So thanks for having us today.
Thank you, gentlemen. So, gentlemen, can you just tell us a little bit more about your story and your background?
Jim, why don't you go first?
Sure. So I started in the kind of the Salesforce ecosystem, way back in, I think early 2000s, where I was really working in a implementation for Siebel, being able to do different things from mainframe environment, mini computer environment, and cloud was really just kind of coming onto the scene in terms of what businesses could do. So I've been kind of an early adopter from a Salesforce perspective. My journey really started as kind of part of a business that needed the tool, so end user side of things. I was always in the technology side, so for me, being able to kind of get into the product and really allowed me to do a lot of things that most applications like this at the time didn't let you customize or do things with. So it really kind of intrigued me, and from there, I really started building my expertise and experience. So, my journey really went from, kind of a small business kind of implementing this product. I got picked up at Apollo Education Group. They asked around and said, hey, does anybody know Salesforce? We have a bunch of licenses that we're not sure what to do with. And of course I said, yeah, I've used it. It's pretty cool. Let me get off and start working with you here. We built that process into a fully implemented Salesforce environment that expanded, not only just in the marketing side, but also business development side. And then we took it into the education side of our business and built out, kind of end-to-end solutions for college acquisitions that were done, as well as doing it within the call center environment. So from, basically a couple of, 30 or 40 users to more than 7,000 users. And that really got me hooked into what the product could do. And in 2014, I changed careers completely, moved 100% into the Salesforce business and haven't looked back since. So from that process, I really, my journey, took me fully into the architectural side of things. And for me, the biggest struggle was finding a place where I could go to get as much of the answers as I could get. And that was kind of part of the discussion that DJ's had in kind of putting this book together. But that's a little bit about my background. Today, I am the Chief Technical Architect at Capgemini Government Solutions. I run really all of their capability practices, and Salesforce is a big part of that. So, DJ?
Yeah, no, thanks. So a little bit different than Jim. My background has been more in the Six Sigma strategic consulting in the past. I started off my career after my MBA in the US with University of Kansas, as well as with Hood College in Maryland, which I transferred to. I worked with a lot of big companies doing Six Sigma consulting. And one of the challenges one of the companies were having was visualizing how this would look like from a strategy to an implementation. And for this particular big mortgage giant in the Virginia area, I built a small prototype utilizing Salesforce And from there on, like I was in love. And I also tried to dabble around a little bit with other architect clouds as an architect with other clouds such as Google Cloud. So I'm Google Cloud certified, AWS certified, as well as Azure certified. What I really quickly understood is that Salesforce, the time to market that it provides, you cannot beat it. And the wow factor in your client's eyes are instantaneous. And that's what I loved about this technology, so stayed with it. Currently, I'm working with IBM as their associate partner managing global Salesforce assets across the entire world, UK to US to Europe, everywhere. And just thought that this would be the right place to, and very similar to Jim, I was having a lot of challenge because I wasn't coming from a pure development background. So I was sourcing and searching for details every single place where I could. I've created notes for several years now, and the book is really a composition of a consolidated version of all of our notes. I would probably say, Jim, you might have the same, where you've created all these notes and we just kind of dumped it into this book in a very organized manner if possible.
Yeah, definitely. It's been, you think about the journey that, Salesforce has gone. It's a continually changing ecosystem. It's a continually changing product with the acquisitions that they've done, the focus that they've done, the transition from classic to lightning and all of the things that they're doing to support that. It's really hard to find kind of the one place that can help you visualize what the overall solution can do. So for me, this particular writing that DJ kind of had the brainchild on and asked me to join kind of later in the process really is a place where anybody who is looking for what can Salesforce do, what are the different domains that it supports and it can be used for, and then how do those all work together? This handbook really can help you do that. If you're a non-Salesforce user and you're an architect for AWS or other cloud products and you really want to get a feel for what Salesforce can do and support that, it's a great product for that. If you're somebody who's early in their environment and you're trying to understand more about what is Salesforce and how do I build my career or how can I do things, it's a really good way for you to see what are all the different things that you need to know about in order to be an effective architect for an enterprise class implementation.
Well, gentlemen, I know that, you've had your extent in, going through and up to now, just your background. And I know in a question, it doesn't cover everything you've been through and, just have the utmost respect for both of you. And also, Jim, I want to say hoo-yah for, go Navy. So I'm a Marine myself and, as well as our audience, a lot of our vet force members out there. And I know you just kind of touched on this, but I want to know, who is the Salesforce Architects Handbook for?
Yeah, DJ, you want to take it from your side?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think I really wanted, my initial vision for the book was to really reduce the pain of anybody going into their journey as a CTA, as a Salesforce architect. It could be a Salesforce beginner. It could be a Salesforce consulting company. It could be a Salesforce professional. It could also be somebody who just needs to validate whether they're doing the right thing or not. From my perspective, I felt like too much of Salesforce knowledge. I'll give you a better phrase. It's like Salesforce is like managing a warehouse of bananas. You don't know when they're going to go bad. You don't know when they're going to be too raw. And the right amount of information is the key. And so I think with this architect book, what we try to do is a little bit more of a timeless organization capability. Not so much like we're not harping much into like what a lightning flow can do or what this new release will do for you, but it's more like how do you intake these information and put that into the right bucket within a right chapter, and how does that augment every chapter such that this could be the framework and a baseline for understanding Salesforce in general.
Yeah, and my follow-up would be is whether you're a consultant who is trying to understand how can a product like Salesforce solve a problem for my client, this book will give you kind of an overview of all the things that you should be considering in that communication with your client. If you're a developer, it's a great tool for you to be able to go to look at that says, if I'm writing an application, what are other things that I have to consider? So it might be mobile, it might be security, it might be integration. So we're giving them enough of the information that they can really pull from that to understand that. Certainly, the architect and the aspiring architect, this is a really good tool for them to pull from to either learn and or reinforce. So, I had a call earlier today with the head of our human resources team, and we were talking about, how do we find, good architects? And I said, if we, how do we identify the skills that they have? And they said, well, we can't do tests because they might be able to look it up. And I said, whoa, wait a minute. For me, if I could give somebody a test of 30 questions that they can answer in 20 minutes and they look them all up, that is a person that is actually going to be more valuable to the delivery of a solution because they know where to go. So what this book does is it helps somebody to grab it off their desk. They can look through what they're looking for. They can find the context in the domain, have a good feel for what's happening. And then if they need to go deeper for the implementation, they can move off into, the Google environment, the Trailhead, and any other places that are available within the ecosystem to get information and answers. But really, for me, it was a combination of pulling together each of the domains in a way that logically told a story about how they're used. So one of the things I'm most proud about of this book is that every chapter can be read by itself, and it tells a story about what that domain means to the environment that you're working on. So it's really kind of, it's 7 different chapters that can be used individually. So architects, aspiring architects, consultants, people who are interested in understanding how to use it. More importantly, if you're an aspiring systems integrator, what do I need to know to actually implement a project from beginning to end? And if you're an integrator that's already been doing it for years, how can I make my practice better? So I see this kind of covering a lot of ground for a lot of different people. And the feedback that we're getting is really from almost the entire spectrum of the ecosystem are really taking a look at this book and its organization, and we're getting some really good feedback.
Absolutely. Well, and that's the thing too, you touched on it, organization and just, finding where things go, because, for myself, I know when I first started in the Salesforce ecosystem and, getting my Salesforce administrator certification, they would tell you, go to salesforcehelp.com or, go here. And sometimes it's like, where do I go? Because there's just so much information to learn, but having it all compartmentalized and having each, chapter tell a story that can really help and provide solutions in the real world is definitely, priceless. So, as well too, what is the biggest breakthrough this book provides?
Jim, do you want me to go first?
No, you go. Go ahead.
I think, both Jim and me have put in a lot of effort in really telling a story that completes the picture. Like, I think many of the books that I've read on Salesforce or even AWS or others, you wonder if there is more and if the authors didn't cover something. We've been very transparent in this book. What it covers, what it doesn't. What it doesn't cover is essentially a click-through screen-by-screen guide of like, do this and then that. What we have tried to cover is the concept and said, look, everything else belongs here. So don't look any further. That level of anxiety, we're calming that anxiety in our readers and telling them, once you understand this framework, everything that you can bring to me today, any feature of Salesforce, we can put it into one of the chapters that we have written. And that's it. And that's what everybody wanted, which I don't think I saw in many books, including like a screen-by-screen guide of an admin book or something,
Yeah, I think the biggest breakthrough for me, as I look at kind of the book and its completion, is that the organization and the structure allows someone to have a business conversation. And it might be, hey, I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to do authentication. Or, I'm trying to understand an integration and how that's going to work. They can pick up the book, flip through fairly quickly and find a section to get enough information for them to really be able to start to put their arms around, okay, now that I know what this is and I know how they work together, they're able to jump very quickly and move through that process. The biggest feedback that I've gotten so far about, breakthroughs that I've heard is the diagrams that have been provided. We didn't provide a lot of help text diagramming and discussions around here's exactly what everything does. We spent a lot of time making sure that we take a big concept and break it down into its major areas of function, and it's holistic. So it isn't just a bunch of bullets. It's actually looking at a concept, breaking that concept down into the key environment, and then telling you these are the important things to look at, giving you enough information to really help you understand what it means. But also, you can go off and do another 30 hours of trailheads on that particular topic to see the breakdown of exactly how to implement it. So for me, it's really that kind of pulling it together. The diagrams, the stories, I think really help individuals who aren't familiar with Salesforce. They're able to look at it and say, I get it. I understand what you're trying to do, and I know why that's important.
Yeah, I'll just add one more. I think, in all of this, I don't want to sound like maybe, this is all great in concept, but somebody who buys this book may have to read other books to implement some things. Jim has done a fantastic work in at the end of each chapter almost, identifying a decision guide of sorts, where it's an easy cheat sheet that he provides. For example, in the integration chapter, he has provided different decisions that you make when you're in certain situation. Now, we explain the entire concept of how you choose that integration. And if you just read that table by itself, you'd be like, why and why not, right? But then right there, somebody in a rush in the middle of a meeting could just look to that table and say, okay, now I know why I need to use a fire and forget and why I need to use a synchronous call and go from there, right? So both handy over there.
Yeah, well, I was going to say too, I've definitely seen this book, all over LinkedIn and just the rest of social media and the internet. And it's definitely a hot selling ticket right now. And, just already doing what you've done in your career and the level that both of you are at is just, extraordinary. And, most people, just to get to that level, it's an accomplishment. But, going above and beyond and writing a book, I'm just interested, why did you decide to write this book?
Yeah. For me, it was really empathizing with the pain of the ecosystem. I felt like I was hearing too many buzzwords, a lot of insecurity in maintaining your job and your profile. I feel like a lot of fluff was going around where that needed to be eliminated and people have real conversations about architecture and design. I also felt that, if you know something, share it, because a candle never loses anything by sharing its own light with others. And I believe that really in my true life as well. And I think I've been lucky to have a partner like Jim, who's pretty much on the same boat. He never held back in any of these chapters to share anything he had written anywhere in his desk or anywhere. So having that partnership actually strengthened the book. Just one person's ideas may not be sufficient to complete this book. So that was my motivation. Jim, I'll let you share anything.
Yeah, so I joined the effort a little bit behind the start of the dream of putting this together. So DJ actually did the hard work of getting the publisher and kind of getting the concept sold. And then we happened to run into each other in a 601 training where we were kind of talking about, okay, how are we going to do our CTA and what's that path look like? And we really kind of clicked on probably two primary areas, and you've already hit on them a little bit, DJ. First is I spent, almost my entire career since 2014, at least once or twice a year doing trainings, weekend sessions, where I'm actually building into the ecosystem and trying to help them, understand how to get into this world. Because to me, it's an amazing environment. So, being able to take that and transform that into something as permanent as the Salesforce Architects Handbook was really intriguing. So when DJ brought it up, it says, yeah, hey man, I'd love to provide some review of your chapters and give you some feedback and stuff like that. And we started talking. He's like, hey, why don't you come help me write the book? Like, okay, that'd be kind of cool. So as we looked at it, it really became a really good avenue for not only that give back to the community and sharing of the light, that's a really important concept, but it was also a way for me to really hone the skills in areas that I really felt like I really needed to get deep in. DJ wrote that chapter and I was able to go deep into that. And then I was able to kind of pull my stuff in. So as we looked at it and the collaboration that kind of went into it, it really made it made me as an author better at the job that I was doing, but I also felt like it was really going to give back to anybody that picked up the document. So I still do kind of the volunteer work. I got to plug it. We do Hiring Our Heroes. I've done 3 cohorts of that, where we're bringing in, veterans and really working with them to bring them into the ecosystem and help them, transition from, one career into the Salesforce environment. This is just kind of an extension of that. So for me, that was the biggest drive, is that how can we help people kind of take this and gain more from it. And we've got to do the plug. So far 100% of our profits have all gone to St. Jude's. We're really big into giving back not only to our personal our ecosystem, but also to the children in need there. So it's just all of it together. That's really the reason why we did it.
Well, what you guys have done here really is it's really extraordinary, because it's, in a way too, you're creating the future of trailblazers. It's not just Trailhead or Focus on Force or some of these other websites or resources out here, but now having a book that can organize and show you all these different things to understand, and helping somebody that might be new, whether they're new to Salesforce or tech, come in and now understand what's going on in the system, and really just the whole world within Salesforce and the tech ecosystem. So it's really extraordinary what you guys are up to and creating, and I can't thank you enough. And as well, how can others learn more about the Salesforce Architects Handbook and follow you?
Sure. So, we both have, LinkedIn accounts. I think those are easy to find. Although there are 2 Jim Hutchersons. They're both technical architects. They do really good work. Certainly connect to both of them. But I'm the one that goes by Andy as well. So you'll see me there in both places. Certainly that, plus the Twitter accounts that are out there. We also have formed a
book club,
I don't know what you call them, a group within the LinkedIn environment that is actually specifically for the handbook itself, where you can come in and start having conversations, and we can answer questions and facilitate the conversation of what architecture is all about. DJ?
Yeah. No, for me, I think the best place is really LinkedIn. I think a lot of folks have connected with me over there. What I've also encouraged them to do is have a dialogue with me about any chapter they didn't understand, but preferably also have that posted in this book club group that we created within LinkedIn, such that the community can really discuss a lot of things. I'm first to admit, we were able to find our first typo in the book. Somebody went through 500 pages of the book and they said, hey, what does this mean? And I reviewed it again and I was like, oh, that's a typo. And that happens, and luckily there were only few, or maybe even just 1 or 2. But also, I would say this is that from a knowledge perspective, what I would recommend is that if people could contribute more when they share with us, so that we can understand if tomorrow another book was needed by the community, maybe not us, maybe somebody from the community could have the courage to write something similar to us, and we could follow them. That would be our intent.
Absolutely. Well, gentlemen, thank you again for being here today. And for any of you out there, whether you're new to Salesforce or you're a seasoned veteran, definitely get your copy of the Salesforce Architects Handbook. Click the link below to find out more. DJ, Jim, without further ado, thank you for being here.
Thank you, Taylor.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.